The Pentagon recently released data mapping global sightings of unidentified anomalous phenomena. The official reports cluster heavily in the Middle East. In 2022, an MQ-9 Reaper drone operating in the region captured footage of a small metallic orb darting below its flight path. Analysts could not definitively identify the object's propulsion or origin. Why are so many unexplained objects congregating in one of the most active and heavily monitored combat zones on the planet? The skies over Nevada in the 1950s provide a starting point. At the time, military bases in the desert were flooded with civilian reports of flashing lights and physics-defying saucer shapes. Those sightings were real, but they were highly classified CIA U-2 spy planes. While commercial flights topped out around 20,000 feet, the U-2 operated entirely out of sight at 60,000 feet, catching high-altitude sunlight that made them look like glowing disks from the ground. This era demonstrated that a widespread UFO myth could provide perfect cover for top-secret aerospace testing. This historical precedent raises a critical question for today: whether the modern UAP reports are shielding a new era of invisible warfare. Military analysts call the current regional data a collection bias. The Middle East is the most heavily surveilled airspace on Earth, saturated with intelligence and military infrastructure. Deploying a massive volume of highly advanced sensors means the military inevitably captures everything. An armada of MQ-9 Reapers carrying sensitive electro-optical and infrared cameras will record high-altitude weather balloons, drifting plastic, and local atmospheric clutter. They also capture modern black projects. Highly classified U.S. low-observable spy planes, like the RQ-170 and the newer RQ-180, conduct intelligence missions deep inside this theater. These aircraft abandon traditional designs. They feature massive, tailless, flying wing structures that maximize altitude and minimize radar return. When viewed from below or caught on a passing sensor, the bizarre geometric silhouettes of these aircraft snap together with frequent military reports of hovering triangular UAPs. The U.S. isn't the only nation flying experimental hardware. Regional adversaries and proxy groups have flooded the sky with low-cost, Iranian-made uncrewed aerial systems. Built with commercial off-the-shelf components, these delta-wing loitering munitions fly close to the ground with extremely low radar profiles, purposefully designed to evade standard air defenses. Because these proxy drones use unshielded commercial engines, they run extremely hot. When an American infrared targeting pod locks on to that raw heat signature from miles away, the drone appears on screen as a blinding, featureless orb. The objects in the physical sky are predominantly a mix of our own classified technology and adversary swarms clashing in a crowded, high-tech arena. The conflict also features an invisible layer. Russian forces run intense electronic warfare operations designed to deny airspace and protect their strategic assets. They do this through continuous GPS spoofing. Russian jammers broadcast powerful radio signals that mimic legitimate satellites, bombarding the region with false positioning, navigational, and timing data. When an MQ-9 Reaper flies through this jammed airspace, its systems desynchronize. The drone's physical camera locks onto a real target, but the spoofed GPS telemetry tells the drone's computer that it is in a completely different location. The tracking software attempts to reconcile these clashing data streams, creating digital ghosts on the pilot's interface. A slow-moving physical drone will appear to ricochet across the screen at Mach speeds without producing an atmospheric wake. Weaponized electronic interference manufactures these digital illusions, creating a database of baffling reports based on hacked sensors rather than physical craft. The term UFO has become a catch-all bin. It holds the systemic noise, sensor artifacts, and misidentifications generated by a hyper-vigilant military surveillance apparatus operating in the middle of an electronic war zone. For the Pentagon, these unknowns are not an extraterrestrial hunt. They represent a critical domain awareness gap. In an active combat zone, a sensor operator has a fraction of a second to decide if an unidentified blip is a harmless weather balloon, a glitching radar, or an incoming loitering munition. Failing to instantly identify the object costs lives. The reports of unidentified objects over the Middle East ultimately trace back to the classified programs and adversary hardware of a human shadow war.